Hey everyone, I'm Kyle with Attended Life, and this morning I'm going to go through the top 5 reasons we pasteurize our chickens and why I think it might be a great option for you. While we're doing it, I'm going to be moving my meat birds, but just know that these benefits apply to both egg layers and meat birds. So first things first, I think raising pasture chickens is the best, especially if you're working with like a smaller or uniquely shaped plot, is the flexibility it affords you. Unless you have like a perfect square or rectangle pasture, putting up fencing can be a nightmare. Especially with permanent fencing, you might have to clear some infrastructure that's there, or trees, things that maybe you don't want to get rid of. Using like electric netting or just chicken tractors in general allows you the flexibility to work around what's already existing on your property. This next one's going to be great for all of my indecisive people. The awesome thing about pasture raising your chickens in like portable tractors, coops, and with like electric netting is it gives you the ability to be indecisive about where you want your chickens. If you're moving to a new land and don't necessarily know what you need in your chicken setup, where you want to place them, things of that nature, this is a great way to get your feet wet and kind of figure those things out. When I first got chickens, if I was gonna set up a stationary coop and run, I definitely would have put it super close to the house. I thought easy chores was the key to an efficient homestead, but now that I've been doing it for a little bit, there's definitely other places that I would put them that aren't necessarily super close to the house, just because I think they'd be happier, they might have better predator protection, things of that nature. My backyard has no perfect squares in it. It has no perfect rectangles. Stuff is just plopped everywhere. There's trees in the middle of a bunch of the paddocks that I use, and having the flexibility to work around that existing infrastructure has been huge for us being able to like both maximize our land use and get the chickens in a bunch of new places. It allows really long pasture rest times because of that flexibility, and just really gives us the ability to utilize the area that we have here for them. It's also great if you are planning to scale up your flock at any time. So we have 8 egg-laying hens and a rooster right now with our egg layers, and we're planning to add another 19 egg layers coming here this fall when we're done with meat birds. And the only changes I have to make is I'm gonna redo one of these chicken tractors into a coop, and all I have to do is put up a longer string of net. I don't have to change any permanent fencing. I don't have to drive any stakes, none of that stuff. So yeah, I think flexibility is one of the best things that it can afford you. I think this really highlights the flexibility I was talking about. As you can see here, we have a hop pole in the middle of these 2 tractors with some mature trees under them. What I'm doing here is I'm able to push both tractors independently of one another around the hop pole just to make sure I can use every inch of available pasture we have. This is the type of stuff that you might have to consider removing if you are gonna be implementing new fencing, maybe a full chicken paddock. But it does offer great shade back here in the summer. When there's not chicken poop all over the floor, it's a great place for my daughter and I to like lay out and hang out on a warm day. So if you already know that you're gonna have to move around things in your yard with your chickens all the time, think about a pastured setup. The next thing I absolutely love about pastured poultry is how clean it is. I never have to scoop poop out of my egg layer's nest. And when I do like a deep cleaning on any of the infrastructure, I can let the birds out in the morning, pull it out of their paddock, and then pressure wash it with no disturbance for the birds. They might have an hour without having a place to hide out from hawks, but if you time it right, you'll be all good. So yeah, just being able to clean stuff easily was a key for me. I didn't want to be handling poop all the time, spreading lime, adding chemicals to the coop to help balance out the natural bacteria that they're producing. Due to the philosophy of these pasture chicken infrastructure, you're gonna find a lot of plans that stand by like the same kind of codes of building, where things are easy to access in the coop. You can either walk in or reach everything within them. And there's not a lot of nooks and crannies for stuff to hide. And all of those things kind of lend itself to also being easier to clean for you, easier to maintain, and hopefully something that you don't have to think about all the time. I never really am concerned that my birds are dirty or uncomfortable because they're on fresh grass every single day. Their coop stays clean and their tractors stay clean. All of this in a nutshell means healthier chickens, and it means there's less bad bacteria hanging around your chickens all day. The next benefit that I'm going to touch on shortly is pasture rebuilding. What you see here is where the chickens were 2 days ago. You can see it's pretty heavily soiled, and then to the right of it was about a week and a half ago. You can see like a lot of healthy growth has come back. All of the vegetation that they've eaten has grown back as well. And it's one of those things, I don't have that much experience with like the full laundry list of benefits that chickens have on pasture. Just know in the year that I've been doing it, I have seen a tangible improvement in my pasture where my egg layers are, where bare spots that were like really hard clay muddy soil have been broken up due to them just aerating it all day, and new plants, new wildflowers have introduced themselves into those bare spots, and we just have like a fuller, more luscious lawn after having birds on it. I touched on this point a little bit earlier when we were talking about flexibility, but space maximization is one of the things that has been the biggest and best part of raising pasture birds. As you can see here, I talked about how we're splitting the hot poles down the middle, but this really is a section of my land that I never would have touched without this type of infrastructure. It gave me the ability to, as you can see here, to push up really close to the trees and basically squeeze out every continuous inch that I could of this pasture space. Today what I'm gonna do is let the birds out of their tractors. We tried this last week and they were just too small. They were sneaking through the Premier One netting like that, and it ended up in a crazy frantic chicken chase with my wife, daughter, and I. But I'm thinking that they're big enough this week. I think my new rule of thumb is whenever I think they're big enough, give them another week and they should be good. So let's see how that goes and we'll get into our final point. The fifth and final point, last but definitely not least, is something that's super important to me. Raising chickens on pasture feels good to me. It aligns with a lot of my morals about animal raising and rearing. My wife and I were vegan for 5 years before transitioning to eating meat again, and we ate it with the understanding that we were gonna go in and raise our own meat because we really are just sickened by the state of industrial agriculture and how it exists in the United States now. And this is our answer for it. These birds are happy, healthy. Every day they're on fresh, clean grass. You can see it on them. When you see these birds compared to pictures of those that are living in some of the industrial ag setups, it's night and day. When you talk about ethical meat, it's hard. I've had a lot of those conversations, but this is one of those things that at least aligns with my ethics and my morals when it comes to animal rights. That's about it for me today. I hope this gave you enough fuel to your pasture bird fire to get out there and raise some pasture chickens of yourself, or to just reinforce the ideas that you already had about raising chickens and how you want to do it. I do appreciate all of you joining me today, and I hope you subscribe because we have a ton more chicken content coming up. Butchering is only a couple weeks away, so if you want to see my thoughts and feelings about my first butchering with meat birds, make sure you hit the subscribe button, and I'll see y'all later.